to yet another Star Trek podcast. I'm Drew. I'm joined by Brad. Majid's not here.
Drew, you're too loud for me right now.
I have so much energy and I shouldn't. And I'm so sorry.
I think we're like the polar opposites at this moment because I am so tired from my darling daughter not wanting to sleep last night, and you have apparently all this energy from your preparation for your 5K that you're doing this weekend.
Yeah, it is not a marathon, sir. Let us clarify that right off the bat. I am running 3.1 miles, which I've done before, but poorly. And I'm attempting to improve my times. Last year I ran the same 5K, and I wanted to like run the entirety of the thing. And about halfway through, I ended up having to walk for a little bit, and then I got back into a run again. This year, my goal is to run the entire thing nonstop, which, there's a very large hill at the end of it. And I know that's going to be a challenge, but if I can at least run to the hill, and then when I get over the hill, could run the rest of it, like that'll be a good victory for me.
I just picture you, the little engine who could, I think I can.
That's accurate, man. But here's the thing. Like, we're supposed to get rain and sleet on Saturday.
Oh man, I hope your shoes are waterproof.
They are not. My wife was also supposed to run this with me, and she has elected not to. But I also have a friend who is absolutely batshit insane, and he will be joining me. And he's already made it clear that he intends on running this thing. But he's done marathons, and he's, technically blind. So I don't think a little rain or sleet's going to stop him.
So what you're saying is you're like, man, if this crazy mofo is going to do it, I have to do it.
Yeah. I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. Well, hopefully my energy will leak into your end of the recording, because I know you are absolutely exhausted.
Yeah, I think I can tell you this much. I don't remember the hours of 2:30 to 4:30, so I'm pretty certain I may have slept during that time period. And then I think around 6. No. It was 6. It was 6 o'clock. I was able to get some sleep from 6 until 9, with a little break when my wife woke me up. But yeah, I'm tired.
I'm so sorry.
I will try to absorb some of the energy that you put off to not dull our listeners too much.
Well, so right now, like baby Bradlina is teething, right?
Well, no, it's sleep regression. It is where her body is growing, her brain is developing, so therefore it is causing her to have interruption in her sleep.
It sounds like painful.
Is
this like when baby Spock turned into teenager Spock in Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock?
I wish I could say that was the case, but my daughter is not going to be going through that speed of a growth.
Okay, so no Ponfar is what you're saying.
It's more of like, hey, I can now crawl, and I'm like, okay, that's sweetheart, that's sweet. Yeah. Just please stop crying or making all these crazy sounds at 3 a.m.
We are here to talk about Picard, season 3, episodes 5 and episode 6. Pretty excited about this. A lot is happening. We have a number of new / returning characters in these 2 episodes.
So I want to start with thinking about the previous episodes. So far, we know some sort of insane weapon was taken from the Daystrom Institute. We've learned that there's changelings that are involved. We don't really know how. We don't know why. I know from my experience, the one thing that I was truly worried about is that there is some sort of catastrophic event that they're trying to prevent. But I'm, kind of like an unrealistic catastrophic event, just like some of the other shows. However, I've been pleasantly surprised that they're not really going that direct route, at least yet. So far it's been pretty good, pretty banging.
Yeah, I mean, the catastrophic event that they keep alluding to seems more like terrorist activity to me. You know, it seems like it's on that spectrum. It's not like this galaxy-ending, earth-shattering thing, but it seems like terrorist activity targeted at the heart of the Federation, in a way that could potentially cripple the Federation for decades, if not centuries, to come.
Yep.
And that seems like a reasonable threat to me.
Yeah.
You know, it's not out of the realm of possibility. The Changelings are certainly known for infiltrating Starfleet. They've done that before. So this has precedent. This is all very much a logical story so far, you know, and yes, it does have a little bit of an excuse baked in on bringing in some older characters from TNG, but it's all been flowing quite naturally so far, and I've been enjoying it. I'm always skeptical anytime they take the nostalgia route, because it's easy. It's the easy way out, right? But they're nailing it.
So the one thing I want to comment to you is that I don't know about you, but every single episode I'm watching, for some reason on the back of my head, I got the dialogue of "We're getting the band back together." From the Blues Brothers.
Feel that way.
The entire time I'm watching it feels exactly like that. Every single episode, it's like the Blues Brothers going to somebody else and be like, "We're getting the band back together. Let's get together. Come on,
we're on a mission from God."
Mission from God. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. No, I could definitely see that. Metro, please stop biting my hand, buddy. I'm sorry, listeners. My cat is very needy, but he's a good boy.
He just wants to be around daddy. That's all.
Yeah, all the time. Every single waking moment of every hour of every day. But he is cute. All right. Anyway, so what do we talk about Imposters, shall we?
Yeah, let's get started. So with the most recent episode, Imposters, we have a lot of stuff going on. We have Jack kind of seemingly going crazy, for a lack of the better word. He's seeing like this red door, seeing himself kind of lose control and like shoot up the bridge. And I think that's where we started in that episode, is that we see Jack going into the bridge and then pretty much kills everybody on the bridge.
Yeah, so they didn't have any of the main characters on the bridge in this scene. It was all like, you know, the helmsman, the science officers, you know, things like that. All the secondary cast for the Titan. But, you know, Jack is basically going crazy. He sees the you know, the same red door that we've seen in previous hallucinations, the roots that he seems to kind of like see take over certain hallways in the ships, and it looks like he's basically been Winter Soldiered here and start shooting up everybody.
You know what, it kind of reminds me of Event Horizon, like where they see the hallucinations, and, you know, it has like a very horror-esque aspect of it. I honestly, when they started doing this, I didn't expect it, because that felt so out of place for Star Trek.
It did, and sure enough, it was, because all of this was just a hallucination. But Jack is standing in the middle of his quarters. He's got a phaser in his hand, and he starts like his hand starts shaking, like he's obviously like not in control of the situation. And then when he snaps to, you know, like he's in shock.
Yeah, and it's a whole big mystery to like how he's like, or what's going on with him. It also feels like he doesn't even really know what's wrong with him.
Right. And that'll come out to play a little bit later on in the episode as well. But after the credits, right? We go back to Picard and Riker and Shaw and Seven, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're in the observation lounge and they're trying to figure out how changelings got on board the ship.
Yeah, like it's the whole change of the changelings. They are they really are making changelings a bit different than what we saw in DS9.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, it is a logical step for that direction because they're so embedded into like Starfleet that they're not normally detectable by the means that they used to be in DS9.
Yeah, so I mean, like they kind of address this because they're showing that the changelings have evolved biologically, right? And we've seen them change appearances, and it's you and I have commented on this in past episodes, where it's very like fleshy,
Yep.
you know, in a way that it had never been before. And later on in the episode, we find out that we know why. You know, Beverly was able to do an autopsy on one of them, and she found out that like they're not just it's not just their quote unquote blood that is, you know, changeling material, but they also are basically mimicking the internal organs of humans, and like it's gone beyond just goo.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a very it's a logical progression. It still kind of creeps me out a little bit, but I mean, it's kind of like a modern day version of the Blob. I would say.
I'm all for. I'm sorry to interrupt, but like I'm always for an opportunity for them to explain improvements in computer graphics in a production standpoint in a way that also relates to the in universe.
It makes sense because if you think about like that metallic goo that we saw from DS9, it really is a big shift. But you can also remember like that goo from DS9 was totally CGI'd, and you could 100% tell.
Right.
Whereas this one, you know it's CGI, but it's a lot harder to tell that it's CGI.
Right. Exactly.
So we cut we cut between Raffi and Worf and the crew on the Titan. They're still trying to figure out who to get in contact with to identify like more information about what's going on with the whole situation. They come across I believe it was a Vulcan, right?
Yeah. His name is Kryn, played by Kirk Acevedo, who is another 12 Monkeys alumni. But you may also remember him from Fringe.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, this guy is like sci-fi. He plays in a lot of sci-fi stuff. I really enjoy his acting. I think Kirk Acevedo is a fun actor, and I think it was a pleasure seeing him in this role.
You know, it's funny. Like I think I was it wasn't as favorable for me only because I know the character so much from Fringe that I was the entire time I was watching it, I was like, why does this guy look familiar?
Yeah.
And until you mentioned it right there, I was like, that's where I saw it from. And it just it felt off for some reason. Something felt weird because I recognized the voice, I recognized the face a little bit, but I couldn't place it. And then when you said it, I was like, oh, okay. That's probably why it felt a little off, but he's phenomenal as an actor. I love I love him in Fringe. I think it just kind of a little spoiled for me on that way.
Yeah, yes. I mean, like he has, you know, quite a list of credits. You know, he's been in a ton of stuff. He's been in Arrow. He's been in 12 Monkeys. I guess he's been in a couple episodes of Agents of Shield, Blue Bloods. You know, a lot of one-off parts, but you know, he's also done, you know, extensive work in series as well too. So definitely worth checking out his stuff. Probably most famous in my mind for Fringe. Some people might know him from Oz. I've never seen Oz, but I guess he was in most of that show, 46 episodes.
Oh wow, I didn't realize he was in Oz. I'll have to pull that up and see who you play. Like I used to watch Oz, well, years ago. But anyways, like when they were trying to Raffi and Worf try to identify the next point of contact. They identify him, and they start setting up a meeting. I know I'm probably going a little bit out of order, but they go back to the same freaking district, and apparently everybody's scared of them, and they're now the new alpha dogs. So it's this kind of, I don't know. To me, it's a bit of a stretch. It's a bit comical at this point for me. I feel like there's so much budget on like the other aspect of the show, whereas this part they're just like, yeah, well, we'll use the same set, for each, the first 5 episodes.
Well, to be fair, they're using the Titan over and over again, the same set and the Titan. So
yeah, but like I think it works for the story. Whereas like this is just, it's like, man, I guess like to me, it's like, does this planet have no cops? Like,
no, I guess not.
So because like they're killing people and all this other crap, but there's apparently no law enforcement at all. It's like just a criminal planet. So it's a bit, I don't know, to me it's a bit ridiculous.
I'll give you that. Yeah.
So we go back to the Titan though, and we get a surprise. We have a callback from the original TNG. We have a guest star appearance of Ro Laren.
Yep. So she hitches a ride on a ship called the USS Intrepid, and the Intrepid shows up to basically interrogate Picard and Riker, right? But they have no idea who's interrogating them. And Ro insists on coming over in a shuttle. She refuses to beam over for whatever reason. And she shows up with 2 other officers, security officers. And when Picard sees her, it's like he's looking at a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
The last time he saw Ro Laren, she was betraying the uniform. She had been assigned to be a secret operative to infiltrate the Maquis, and she turned around and joined them instead.
For those who are not aware, the Maquis is a group of Bajorans radicalists who were truly against the Cardassians and they were essentially like terrorists, I guess you could say. That's how I think Starfleet classified them.
Yeah, but they were basically fighting to keep their homes, or at least that's how they saw it.
There's a whole big thing in I think DS9 more so to like discuss for it, and yeah. It's I think it's a very good conversation point for it, but I think to this though, it truly showed the betrayal that she did to Picard in this episode,
and how much it affected him.
Mm-hmm.
Too, right? Because we didn't really get that in TNG. When that episode was over, Ro Laren was gone and you never heard about it again.
Yep.
There was no like lasting repercussion on that. But, during the context of that episode, when she betrayed him, like you could tell he was pissed, right? And not just like angry, but like heartbroken, because he genuinely cared about her.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it was in like a romantic way or anything. It was more like in a mentorship way. Like he felt like he could fix her,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so to see her back in uniform, obviously there's a lot of questions, a lot of, speculation. Is it actually really Ro? For example, right. Like, is it just a changeling that's imitating her? I think at that point, Seven goes to Jack and says, "Hey, you need to hide in like plain sight." And so she gets him to put on the uniform, and so that he can blend in with the crew, and that like the people that are on there that they're not sure of if they're actual Federation or if they're changelings, so they won't get caught. Or at least they won't find him.
Right. But the thing is like he's putting on this uniform, and it's the same uniform that he was wearing in his flashback or his hallucination at the start of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's like, oh no, this is becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yep. And so that's the question is it really that he's just hallucinating, or is he just seeing the future?
Right. exactly.
And so there's a lot of potential questions that are starting to arise from this. What is really going on with this with Jack?
Right.
So we cut back to Raffi and Worf. They are devising a plan to uh, capture, what was the guy's name? The Vulcan, Kryn? Yeah. And so I have to admit, I kind of geeked out during this section because you see Raffi and Worf, they're in the streets, no cover, no nothing. And all of a sudden we see a bunch of criminals come around them with Kryn, and is like, "You're looking for me." And I think they end up shooting Raffi, but it really wasn't Raffi. It was a mobile emitter. And I totally geeked out from my days of Star Trek Voyager, of knowing the mobile emitter that is a basically a portable holographic unit type thing where you can just slap it onto a hologram and they can walk around outside of a holodeck. And then it turns out Raffi's on the rooftop. However, Kryn was aware of that and was prepared for that type of behavior. So they both got captured.
Yeah. I thought that was a little cheesy.
I don't disagree. I just was geeking out so much over the mobile emitter that I probably didn't care.
That's cool. I mean, it was certainly fun, right?
It was. I think I remember the Doctor from Voyager was being one of my favorite characters. And so I kind of probably jaded it a little bit, but yeah, it was super cheesy.
Yeah, and he was great,
Oh yeah, definitely. But
so.
we go back to the Titan. The Rose meeting with Picard, trying to interrogate him, so to say. And they're trying to figure out. She eventually is tells the two other officers that are there to leave her alone with Picard, and they kind of do this whole big conversation. That's when I think Beverly sends Picard the test results of the autopsy for the changeling. And he reads that without Ro knowing, and he sees that it's near impossible to identify the changelings through normal methods. So that normal, was it cutting the hand and letting the blood spill or something like that?
Which Ro did.
Which she did to prove that she wasn't a changeling. However, that is no longer a valid test.
Right.
And so I probably going a bit out of order, but eventually Picard and Ro leave the conference room, and Ro takes him to a holodeck, the 10 forward holodeck that they always loving. I mean,
they are getting their money's worth out of that set, man.
I know, and it's funny. I'm not complaining about it. It's just it seems more realistic to me than the other set. But Picard disengages safety protocol in the holodeck without Ro noticing. And so that's when Picard and Rose start to have full-on conversations about what's going on, about the hurt, about everything that transpired between them.
Yeah, they lay it all out, and the broken hearts are revealed, and basically they come to an agreement that they trust each other, because the things that they were saying to each other were so raw and so emotional that there's just no way that a changeling could have known what, you can impersonate somebody to a point, but when you start getting into that deep kind of that emotional level of things, that's a game changer. And they both realized that, and they agreed that not only would they put down their phasers, but they would trust each other from that point forward.
And I think that was a nice turning point for the episode.
It was, in that moment where Picard hesitates before he says yes. You could tell that was a moment of him really dropping his guard with her for the first time since she boarded that ship. Like even if he didn't believe that she was a changeling from that point forward, like he wasn't sure that he would be willing to trust her again just based on how she backstabbed him last time.
And that's when we really learned the extent of the changeling threat, because she suspects the changelings are throughout Starfleet, that they've infiltrated the highest levels. She's been trying to, and she's also been working with Section 31. She's working with Section 31, if I remember correctly.
I don't know. I don't remember that. I'm not going to say no, but I don't remember that.
I think she was, only because that's how she got back into Starfleet.
Oh, maybe.
And that she rose through the ranks through that, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
But anyways, she has a lot of suspicions about multiple different people, and apparently there's like, she indicated that there's like 12 incidents where changelings showed up on ships, and they're not being reported because it's a super hush hush type thing.
Yeah.
And so right then and there, that's why she doesn't trust the transporters. She doesn't really trust the people on the other ship that she came on. And what I think that's also when we find out that the people from the Titan are being transported over to that other ship in like a skeleton crew type of aspect of things.
Yeah, so she ordered that apparently, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
because she's anticipating that the Titan is going to need to run, and she doesn't want to endanger anybody else if possible.
And by taking the crew off, it leaves it a small number of individuals, and then also it helps prevent potential other changelings to infiltrate.
Right. There's fewer people on board, so there's fewer people that could be, impostered. Right.
Yep. All right. We cut back to Worf and Raffi with Kryn. Kryn's like, hey, I'll trust one of you guys, but you gotta do a fight to the death type of situation.
This is so bad.
Yo, it was so horrible.
I'm sorry. There wasn't a single part of this entire scene that had any logic, and this is a Vulcan. Yeah. Where was the logic, Kryn? Well, shoot them both.
Because it was it because they killed his brother, Sneed, I think it was.
Yeah, him and Sneed are like best buds or something, right? And Sneed was the Ferengi that got beheaded in the second episode or whatever.
Yeah, so like I could have seen, like, it would have been logical to have them fight to the death and then kill the other person.
Right. Correct.
But he didn't do it that way. And
no.
It was, yeah. Anyways,
he's a bad Vulcan.
He is.
Kryn is a bad Vulcan.
They're clearly, because he's a criminal, he doesn't have the brains to be a good one. But they fight, and Raffi stabs Worf, supposedly killing Worf, which was.
Did you for a second think that Worf was dead?
No, gosh, no.
Oh, okay.
And then. Because it's like it was not a like thing of glory of like it was not a meaningful death.
No. When Worf goes, and I hope he does not go in this season, I do not want to see. Like, I was okay with Ro getting killed because she hasn't been around, and it gave her a chance to like redeem herself. But
yeah,
I'm gonna be real mad if anybody in this crew bites it.
I know,
and that includes Captain Shaw.
At this point, yeah, Shaw's been Shaw's been actually like really driving, like, as much as I hate him or dislike him, I should say at this point, like he's been really growing on me. Especially today's episode too.
Oh man, we can get into that when we get there. But yeah.
But I want to get through this one pretty quick. So then Raffi stabs Worf, and then like Kryn is like, yo, you can join my crew, this type of thing. And then all of a sudden, like, the lights go out, and like all the other criminals are starting dying because Worf is a badass and just killing everybody.
Yeah,
it was so ridiculous, man.
Yeah, I wasn't really a fan of this, but thankfully Worf is still alive.
He is.
With a little less blood in him, but he used that K-less technique of slowing his heart to imperceptible levels or whatever. Never mind the fact that Klingons have 2 of every organ.
I know,
So,
right?
whatever. It was convenient. They told the story that they wanted to tell, and they got around the loopholes of it, and that's fine. And
Whatever. But
it's
the
fine.
they go back to their ship to try to contact Worf's handler from there.
Right.
So back on the Titan, stuff just kind of keeps happening. People are getting pulled off, and then Ro, after the conversation with Picard. Actually, before I get into that part, we find Jack like goes to the transporter room, and the transporter chief like tries to talk to him, and he has another hallucination where he's like kills the guy and had no recollection, and so then he ends up freaking out and just like leaving, trying to not use the transporter. But Ro and Picard have a conversation. Ro's like, okay, we're good. We just need to go back to the Titan without, or not the Titan, with the other ship without Jack, and calls for security. So they're flying back on a shuttle over to it. The other two security guards are like, why are we doing this? What's going on? We haven't found Jack. And she's like, I can't remember what she said, but just like, it's don't worry about it type of thing. And midway through the transportation, the two security guards, one like throws this device on the ground, activates it, and then the two of them beam away onto the Titan.
Yeah.
It turns out it's a bomb. Was it a bomb or something like that?
Yeah. No, it was a bomb. It was also a transport inhibitor, so they couldn't get Ro off.
Yep.
But that was going to explode.
Yes. And so what Ro decided was that she would make the ultimate sacrifice in ramming the shuttle into the starboard nacelles of the other ship.
Right.
And disabling the other ship, allowing the Titan to leave. Now I think before that occurs, though, the two security officers transport onto the Titan, and they end up coming across Jack just like that, because it's that easy. And they identify, like they comms over to the other ship and say, hey, we found Jack, we need more security. And then two more changelings beam over.
Right.
And that's when Jack kind of goes full Bourne.
He goes Jason Bourne on
Jason Bourne on it, and just destroys all four of the changelings.
Now, before we go any further, I would be remiss if we didn't talk about the Intrepid. First off, what a cool ship. I love that ship. And when Ro crashes into the nacelle and that ship starts like wavering and like kind of, what do they call it? Delisting, I think it is. And then when she recovers enough to like straighten out, like, I don't think I've ever seen a ship look so angry before in my life.
It was a pretty badass ship. It was.
Oh my God. That scene where like you're looking down the center of the Titan saucer section, and all of a sudden the Intrepid just like rises up and straightens out and looks at it. Oh man, that gave me chills, dude. Chills.
I was thoroughly impressed with the design.
Shut up, Brad.
I apologize. Do I need to buy you one of those ships for your collection? I get you a little, maybe one of those little Christmas tree ornaments.
I have my Eagle Moss USS Europa on my desk. I'm holding it in front of you right now in the webcam, but the listeners are not able to see. But behind me, sadly covered in dust, is a wall full of other starships of the fleet.
What you need to do, Drew, is you need to be a real geek and get an enclosed display that helps get rid of the dust. Trust me.
One of those glass ones?
Yes. Or the IKEA display cases. I can tell you from my wife, who is a designer, thinks they're actually stylish, and while she doesn't agree with the things I put into them sometimes, she's like, yeah, it's an acceptable display case.
Okay, I'll have to consider that, because the idea of having like this gigantic display case that's made of glass just scares the hell out of me. Because I have two cats and they like to fight.
I can tell you this much, man. I've had display cases like that for years with one cat, and who loved to jump on the top of it and do these crazy maneuvers, and I never had an issue.
All right, that's good to know. All right, well, I'll have to circle back on that then.
So do you want to keep talking about the ship, or are you good?
I'm good.
Had to think for a moment there.
Yeah.
But yeah. So then I think at that point though, the Titan says like, "Shit,
Peace.
We need to get out of here."
Yeah, they peace on out just as like 2 torpedoes are about to smack them in the engines.
Yep. And I think that's and that's like them transporting away, and then we cut to them Ro ended up giving Picard her earring, which was like some sort of like sentimental thing to show, at least that's what Picard thought. Turns out it's not. Riker's like, dude, that's like a data device.
Yeah, my earring is also a flash drive.
Pretty much, yeah. And it included all of her information and apparently her cell phone number, because when lo and behold, an incoming call came up, and it was Worf and Raffi trying to get in touch with Worf's handler.
Yeah. That was interesting. Just like, where's Ro?
Yep. Unfortunately, she's dead.
Yeah.
I think that covers everything in that episode.
Pretty much. I mean, we've let's see here. Well, we do have that one moment at the very end where Jack admits to Bev that
oh yes,
something is wrong with him, and he's not sure what. And that's where the episode comes to an end. Yep. So before we move on to the bounty, what are your overall thoughts on this one?
I enjoyed it. A whole lot of nothing happened, but a whole lot of story progression occurred.
Yeah.
I think I've kind of felt like this notice of the episodes. It's like one episode pushes the story, the next episode pushes a lot of stuff that happens. So it's kind of a pattern so far, because the next episode, a lot of stuff happens. At least in my mind, it happens.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like this was more of the action-packed story, whereas the next episode is kind of more dialogue heavy. I guess it's not really true though. It's I don't know.
I know, I understand what you mean. I think the next episode, like, things actually progress. They do more things and accomplish more things in the next episode.
Yeah, and now all the different parts, all the different characters are starting to kind of converge on each other as well too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah, I mean, like I really like this one. I'm all for anytime we get to see a new starship. I'm a starship geek. I don't know if you noticed.
I never would have guessed.
Never would have guessed. But yeah, man, I love a good starship, and I love a good starship fight. And seeing the Intrepid show up and be like, "Hey, Titan, you want to fight?" And the Titan's like, "Nope." Like, that was really cool. That was really cool.
It's like, adios. Let's move on to the bounty. The bounty, we start off with 3 Starfleet ships, and what was the other bad guy's ship? The Shrike, I think it was. Yeah, they find a transponder floating in space, so it's presumably the Titan drops their transponders so that they're not found. And so I think the helmsman of like the Shrike was like, that's why we can't find them, is because of this. And so the helmsman gets shot. I'm pretty sure, because that's the most logical thing to do.
I mean, you shoot the guy that's pointing out what's going on,
So we start with the Titan, where Beverly is speaking to Picard, saying that Jack confided in her that he's been having these issues, and that had been terminally diagnosed of aromatic syndrome.
Aromatic syndrome. Yeah. So this is the same disease that Picard was diagnosed with in the TNG finale, All Good Things. Which is why in the future, in that episode, everybody was calling him crazy because it was the aromatic syndrome. Mm-hmm. But it turns out in reality, he had it. And in Picard season 1, spoiler alert, it kills him just out of nowhere. So Picard is dead, and we are actually dealing with the robot of Picard.
Synthetic body.
Yes.
I don't want to get into a I don't think we need to touch this topic.
It's a bad story. But if they're going to own it, they're going to own it. And guess what? Jack's got it now too.
I feel like unfortunately TNG set this up to be a something that they had to address. And unfortunately there was really I think that the way they went about addressing it didn't really hold true to something that would satisfy most viewers, at least in my opinion.
They never had to address it.
Okay.
In my opinion, because it was in the very last episode of the series, and it happened in an alternate universe. So they never had to address it, right? Beverly said she did a scan on Picard in the present and said to him in the TNG episode, well, there's something there. It might be nothing. It might be something. We don't know. And we won't know for another 80 years. And that could have been it. That
Fair.
Literally could have been the end of it. But in Picard, they dropped a little breadcrumb in the middle of the episode when he met a doctor that we've never seen before, who he apparently had this deep past with, and he's like, oh, well, the aromatic syndrome's getting worse, and you might die at any second now. And then he's perfectly fine for 9 episodes until suddenly it's convenient for Picard to die.
Yeah, that is fair. Okay.
I'm sorry.
I feel confident that we've finished our little Drew rant here. I think we can move on.
Oh, I have not even begun to peak.
All right, so let's move on to Jack is diagnosed with this stupid disease, and that's what's causing his hallucinations. Fair. So Picard finds Jack drinking himself under the table in the holodeck, because that's also fair.
Yeah.
He's doing the whole self-pity, yada, yada, yada stuff. Then we move on to the most important thing. Worf and Raffi show up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lovely reunion.
It was nice to see Worf call everybody by like their rank instead of like their names, Ever the professional.
That's how he is. And Seven and Raffi had a very awkward reunion.
Yeah, well, exes and all.
Yeah, that's how it has to be. Fun times. But so the crew of the Titan, they want to try to figure out what's going on, so they try to devise a plan on trying to get more information. They really feel that the whole thing is something else was taken from the Daystrom Institute, other than this portal gun, something much more important. And so they devise a plan to go in and infiltrate the Daystrom Institute. Did I miss anything between them there?
I don't think so.
It was pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
They have like some sort of like I don't know, virus or something, like a key to get into the Daystrom to break in and all this stuff. I have to admit though, there was a scene that was hilarious to me. It was the scene.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I believe that was the key that they got from Kryn.
Oh yeah, that was it.
Right. But yeah, I'm sorry. Go on.
No. There's a scene where Raffi and this is before they're about to go into the Daystrom. Raffi and Seven and Worf are together, and there's clearly this whole big tension between Raffi and Seven for the relationship, and Worf is trying to like make some sort of like comment towards like, oh, it's so difficult to deal with this type of thing, and then like Seven's like, I'm not going, and Worf's like, oh good, because it's he's like I didn't want to deal with that stuff.
Yeah, that was hilarious. He's like, oh, you guys are exes, I don't want to have to deal with this, it'll be a burden, best that you don't go. That was hilarious. Michael Dorn, what a comedian. I love him.
It's funny, like I feel I've been having mixed feelings about his performance in this.
Really?
Yeah, it just feels a little off from the way like I remember the character versus to what it is. And it could just be like, the past being jaded.
Mhm.
But I think some of the stuff is a bit cheesy the way they're doing things, and it's okay to me.
Fair enough.
But so it ends up going Raffi, Riker, and Worf beam down to the Daystrom Institute and break into it. They're this mysterious whole thing. They come across like a raven, I think, at one point. Some strange
Yep.
sounds are playing, and then out of nowhere we get Moriarty.
Yeah, Moriarty. So I knew Moriarty was going to be in the show. I didn't know it was going to go down like this.
Nope.
I'm not sure. I have not yet processed how I feel. I'm glad that he wasn't a larger part of this, though.
So I'm gonna kind of just focus on this part of the story, if that's okay, until we get to
Okay.
the reveal.
Okay.
And so it we get so basically Moriarty is like shooting at them like holographic bullets that are actually doing damage to the station, and this strange like these tones are playing still in the background, and eventually corners Riker, Raffi, and Worf, and it just dawns on Riker that he heard those sounds before, and it does a flashback to, I'm pretty certain it was the first episode.
That was the very first time that Riker met Data. It was an encounter in Farpoint.
And it was the whistling song. Was it Shaving a Haircut?
No, it was Pop Goes the Weasel.
Pop Goes the Weasel, that's what it was. And Riker whistles the rest of it, and that deactivates the Moriarty defense. And he just kind of goes away.
And then we never see Moriarty again.
So they Riker comments on that, and he's like, hey, there's something is related, and that's how he figured out the whistle. And they go into another room, and turns out there's a entity that looks like Data, but an old man.
Yeah. They have elected not to CG Brent Spiner in this, and they have elected not to cover him in makeup, and instead portray him as this new entity that is a combination of Data and Lore and B4 and Soong.
Yep.
They didn't. I don't know if they specified if it was. It wasn't. Data's father per se, but it was Alton Soong. Was that the one that was from season 1?
Yeah, I think it was that one.
Okay. It's hard to keep track of all these Soongs because they're all played by Brent Spiner, so they all obviously look the same.
So they integrated like the memories of all of them into one. And it turns out that this unit is the one that's actually controlling the security system for the Daystrom Institute.
Right.
So I had mixed feelings about that.
Let's hear them.
Well, to me, it was kind of like you have a being that is clearly, or at least it appears to be clearly aging. It's not like a true artificial synthetic being where it's like, say, the same age forever. And unless there was a course that was designed specifically that way.
I mean, in the voice memo that Alton Soong left, he referred to it as having the quote true human aesthetic of age. So basically, this is as human as a synthetic can get, supposedly. In reality, it's just a way to make sure that Brent Spiner doesn't need a ton of CG and makeup, and I'm fine with it. These poor actors don't need all that makeup if they can get away with it.
Yeah, because I felt like with him, unfortunately, he has like, well, the shittiest possible situation because of his character. It's an android. It doesn't age, and I personally would have liked them to handle it differently. Like I felt what they should have done to bring back Data is that they could have made a sense of like, oh, this was like a years ago, like 20 years ago, somebody made like an actual body and transferred the information of data like into it or something like that. Because then
Yeah.
that they could have brought data back that way. But hey, you know what?
I'm fine with it.
It's okay. It's an acceptable way of bringing him in.
Well, it's also a way for Brent Spiner to play all of his legacy characters at the same time.
That's true. That is true. Well,
and
not
and
all,
we'll
but most of them.
Most of them, yeah. And we'll kind of touch on that in a little bit, but yeah.
And so going back to the Titan, I know I went a little off a little ahead of the story. Back on the Titan is still being hunted by Starfleet, and they end up warping away from the Daystrom Institute because ships start going there and following them. And of course, I think I have to admit that security system sucks because they know somebody's in there, but they just don't know where. And so they're searching the entire thing, and it's so freaking stupid, man. Because it's like, how bad is your Starfleet security? Is it really this bad?
Yeah.
Anyways,
it is.
so the Titan goes like, hey, we got to find a place to hide, and they go to the most logical place I guess they could go, and it's a museum of ships.
Yeah.
And it's like the most famous ships that have like been retired over the years and all that wonderful stuff.
This was cool.
It was actually pretty cool.
I geeked out. You know, Mr. Starship over here.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, Brad. This was great.
And guess what? Who was actually the person in charge of this station?
I don't know who.
I think you do know. I think you're lying.
I'm lying.
And
it's
it was
Geordi.
It was Geordi LaForge, and apparently his other daughter.
Yeah, so I think I incorrectly spoke a few episodes back when I said that the helmsman of the Titan was portrayed by LeVar Burton's daughter. The daughter that he arrived on, the Titan with in this episode is actually his daughter.
Really? It was?
Yeah. I got them confused. That's on me. But this daughter, whose names I still don't know, but this is played by Mika Burton.
Okay. That would
Alondra
Alondra
is the character. Alondra LaForge. This is played by Mika Burton.
Wow, I totally did not catch that. I should have caught that.
Yeah, it's okay. We've been thinking wrong for the entire
thing, right?
Yeah.
Man, I'm surprised none of our listeners like flipped out on us already.
Right. Well, nobody listens to this podcast, Brad.
Clearly. But anyways, it was absolutely you know what, now that you mention it, when you said it, because I actually remember Mika Burton before she was, or at least I remember her from like this gaming YouTube channel that I used to watch. And I would always like watch it. And I remember her. And then when we saw her in like the first episode, or the LeVar, or the whatchamacallit, the Geordi LaForge's supposed daughter. And I was like, oh, she looks really different from this. I guess she like did her hair or something different, or makeup.
Yeah,
or
no relation to LeVar Burton on that one. This is her. This is his actual daughter, and she has been very active in the gaming community, both video games and tabletop games, and obviously it's got to be like incredible acting side by side with your own father in a show that's got such popularity like this. Like that's so cool. That's so cool, and to also on top of it all be like a fan of this type of thing, like a nerd, like she's a nerd. She's one of us, Brad, and that's so cool.
I do know that I remember hearing comments about the cast and crew very excited to work with her because they essentially like they're a big family, the actors, and they've seen her grow up over the years. And so it's kind of like having that family, the true family of the Star Trek there.
Yeah. As a side note, I don't want to go off on too far off script here, but I found out that Todd Stashwick, who plays Captain Shaw,
Yep.
is like a huge D&D nerd.
Oh, really?
Like he has like a cave that is just decked out in D&D stuff, and he runs campaigns on the regular.
Wow.
Yeah, this guy's legit. Anyway, sorry.
No,
I
it's
had a
okay.
moment
It's
that I
okay,
needed to share.
man. I mean,
Yeah.
we're all nerds here. It's okay.
Yeah.
But anyways, yes, we see LaForge with his real daughter.
Mhm.
Sorry, listeners, we stand corrected from our previous statements. And clearly, so there's some I would say probably not very happy relationships right now with Geordi and Picard, I guess.
Yeah. Yes. Jordy's a little salty. He's like, how dare you come here with all your crap and all the shenanigans that you've got going on and endanger my family.
And he's like, I've been debating from the time I stepped on this transporter whether to give you a stern handshake or a friendly hug.
Well, he gave Jean-Luc neither, if we're being honest.
That's true. He gave
he gave Bev the hug.
He gave Bev the hug. That's right. That's right.
And nobody else got hugs that I saw.
Yep.
Maybe it was cut for time. I don't know.
I don't know. But it was a nice getting the band back together moment.
Yep. We're on a mission from God.
Clearly. So yeah, like Picard and LaForge have a very wonderful conversation together. When I say wonderful, I mean a bit tense. It's like, how could you do this? LaForge's daughters, on the other hand, are kind of expecting this. They kind of feel like, hey, this is dad being traditional dad.
Geordi's changed.
He has, and I think it shows the impact of having a family.
Yeah. I it seems logical that you would want to protect your family. I don't have children, but I think that most people can identify with how Geordi feels, right?
Yep. And the whole of his daughters were kind of like, hey, this is how dad is. So Jack and the two LaForge daughters decide to make their own decisions.
Yeah, they go and steal a cloaking device from the HMS Bounty.
Oh, you know what? Do we want to take a moment, Drew, and just talk about all those ships that you saw when we went to the museum?
I can do that.
We saw quite a bit, man. We saw like we saw Voyager. We saw the Klingon bird of prey that went back in time.
Yep. So that was the HMS Bounty, which they found. They actually like spelled it out, like they found it in the waters beneath San Francisco. That was the one that crashed in Star Trek 4. They brought the whales back in time with. We had the Defiant, which is legendary. We had the Enterprise 1701A. And then I think they said it was the USS New Jersey, which was an original Constitution class, but not the original Enterprise because that ship got destroyed.
Yeah.
So you couldn't do that one. But like I also saw in the background, like there was a Nebula class. I don't know I didn't get a chance to like really dive in. I have to find some stills.
Oh, I'm sure they had a ton of good ships that I'm sure were very memorable ships.
Mm-hmm.
And it's and so when the daughters decide to take the cloaking device from the bird of prey, I know it pissed off Geordi and is like they broke international like treaties. Oh yeah.
Well, Federation is not supposed to have cloaking devices. I assume that's still true.
Yeah.
They made an exception in Deep Space Nine for the Defiant because of the Dominion War, and the Romulans were part of that decision. But that was the only ship that was authorized to use it. And then when the original Defiant was destroyed, I don't believe the Sao Paulo had a cloaking device on it. I think it was the original Defiant, and that was it.
Man, like I swear to God, the people whoever's running the Federation, like they're idiots.
Yeah.
You if you have like a ship museum, you leave only the essential things there. You take off like the warp drive, you take off like the cloaking, you take the weapons. So essentially it is just a shell of a ship that is only there for display.
Correct. 100%. 100% agree.
So I mean, I don't want to say this is bad writing. I feel like it's lazy writing.
Yeah. I mean, this was them like throwing a bone to the fans. This was fan service.
I completely agree, and I get it. It just, to me, it feels like it's lazy writing as far as like them trying to be like, oh, we got a solution here. This is all we can do. We're going to steal this cloaking device, and then integrate it into our ship, which is not supposed to have.
Right. Exactly. And then it breaks things.
Oh yeah, and apparently by taking it out of the ship, it just sets off all these alarms.
Right. Right.
Which another thing too, they did comment as to how the ship is, or the other ships are finding them, is that apparently all the ships are connected, and that they
all communicate to the cloud apparently.
Yes, and like Geordi made a comment as like how he was against the whole thing entirely.
Mm-hmm.
Which I can totally see him being that person, being like, yeah, this is a bad idea, guys. Why are we doing this?
Well, it's like, because if you introduce a virus on one, now you can potentially spread that virus to every other ship.
Completely. That's kind of how, like, I think the whole aspect of everything is kind of connected and messes crap up, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But they did that, and it's all connected now. And so, yeah, there's that.
Yeah, here we are. And then they decide finally to use that cloaking device for good and head back to go pick up their friends at the Aestrum.
Yeah. And they they're in the process of trying to get the 4 out because they wanted to take Data's I don't know what am I going to call this thing? It's not Data, it's not Lore, it's not Soon, it's not B4.
Just call him Brent Spiner.
Yeah, well, they'll grab Spiner and they'll bring him back. But they the security teams finally find where they're located, and Riker makes the heroic of, I will go hold them off while you guys escape.
I was so nervous that they were going to kill him.
Oh, I know. I was really nervous at that point. But they don't. They only shoot him with like a tranquil dart that prevents him from getting transported off.
Right.
Or I don't remember what the hell it was. It was just something glowing in the back.
It was like a transporter like inhibitor or something.
So,
but it was in a dart. Yeah.
Everybody beams aboard. Riker gets captured.
Yep.
And then we cut to the crew. They're like, oh, they cloaked and they leave, and they hooking up Data or Spiner, I should say.
Yeah.
And he's bits of a schizophrenic.
Yeah. So how did you feel about this?
I don't know. It was okay. Like I get the situation they're put in. Like they killed off Data, which I think truthfully was a big mistake when they killed him off in the movies.
Yes.
Do you know why they killed him off in the movies?
Because it had a bad director.
Oh, jeez.
I really don't know. I really don't know what the rationale was.
I don't know if it was
the guy that was in charge of Nemesis was widely confirmed to have just not been a good fit for the show or for the movie. Like, and he made a lot of decisions that even the actors were very negative with.
Yeah, I can see that. But yeah, Spiner being dead, it's kind of hard to bring back Data. I mean, the whole idea of like before kind of encompassing his memories, it would have been nice if they just been like, oh yeah, before is actually Data now, because like Data's memories took over before.
Right. But the thing is that like in Nemesis, like they pretended like Lore didn't even exist.
Yeah, I know, right?
So,
they made like a casual comment, I think, if I remember correctly.
Did they?
It was like in passing. It was like so minute it didn't even register.
Okay.
But the whole schizophrenic Data Lore before and then Sun conversation was kind of weird for me.
Yeah.
It was I don't know. I'm going to hold my opinion to the next episode only because I feel like we'll get more of what's going on there, or at least the direction towards it. So I'll give it the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, it is a little tough to say right now, like with barely 10 minutes worth of it. But I will say that when Data turned and looked at Geordi and said Geordi's name, like that kind of hit me.
Oh, that gave me shivers.
It gave me chills, and I got a little misty eyed. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, because Geordi and Data were BFFs, man.
They were best friends, which is another problem I have with season 1 of Picard. But anyway,
oh yeah, because Data and Picard were like never really that connected, but yet they were connected.
But they made it seem like they were. But anyway, I'm getting off. I'm sorry. So yeah, like they're BFFs, right? And that was really moving. And then watching Brent Spiner do what Brent Spiner does and just shift from personality to personality like that. From an acting point of view, I thought it was pretty cool to see.
Oh, he did great with it. When I say like my possible negative feelings towards it's not towards Spiner. I think he was phenomenal in the current situation that they have him in. I just want to see how they take this new character, if it's this jumbled mess of like splitting between personalities, or is it something that's going to meld together and to eventually just be one character?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait and find out.
So we'll see. I think that's where we left the crew of the Titan. I can't really remember anything else from them, but we did have a cut.
Well, there is one more thing. They identify what was stolen from Daystrom.
Oh yes, they did. And
it was
the more body. The more powerful weapon is
the
body
of Jean-Luc Picard.
That is not a more powerful weapon.
Yeah, I'm not into this. Not into this.
All right. So when they did that reveal, I was just like, are you freaking kidding me? That's the reveal, is that Picard's body is the key. WTF.
Yeah, how are they going to figure this out? I don't know. I mean, are they going to use the body? Are they going to Weekend at Bernie's Jean-Luc Picard?
Well, no, wasn't it Nemesis where like they did the clone? Nemesis was the clone, right?
Yeah, well, it was supposed to be quote unquote his son Shinzon, but it ended up being like a clone.
Yeah. So is it like, what's the whole point of it though? Like, what did Picard do in the past that they need his body? And then why the freak is his body like classified in the Daystrom Institute?
Well, they did the same thing with Kirk's body. So I guess like maybe special people get entombed there. I don't know. I have no idea.
All right, we'll see. However, one last thing. Riker is captured. You have like 3 crew members, Starfleet crew members, be like, hey, what's going on? And then this lead crew member turns around and kills the other 2 crew members.
Yep.
It's a shapeshifter. And honestly, man, at first I was excited and I was like, oh my God, are they going to bring Odo? And then I was like, nope, it's the woman from the Shrike, the captain from the Shrike. And I was like, dang it. So disappointed.
I'm okay with it. I really didn't want them to try to bring Odo back.
Oh, are you kidding me? I think this is like the perfect time.
But Rene Auberjonois is dead. So
oh yeah, he did. Oh my God, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he passed away a few years ago. So
man, another actor I absolutely loved.
Yeah, he was great.
All right, well, never mind. I stand corrected.
Sorry, Brett.
No. I'm a horrible Star Trek fan. I didn't know this.
Yep, you are.
But they bring Riker back to the Shrike, and lo and behold, they have captured his wife.
Yeah, Troy is on the Shrike.
Yep, and well, crap.
That's a good way to put it. That is a good way to put it.
So we leave everybody in a situation where things are a bit awkward, man.
Yeah, we have Riker in a compromised state. We have Geordi LaForge having a turn of faith, and joining the crew and doing engineering things. Can we talk about Shaw
Oh
geeking
yeah.
out about oh my God, watching this man who is so sure of himself and just like constantly having the upper hand in every conversation that he's in, just stand there in front of Geordi LaForge and stammer like a starstruck fool. And Brad, we've both been there when we've met somebody that we idolize, right? You and I, we go to conventions. I'm sure you've met a star or two where like you just don't know what to say to them.
So okay, you know what? Let me dive into my old Brad past of going to comic book conventions. I remember going to San Diego Comic-Con. And there was a video game that came out. I think it was like X-Men Legends or something like that. This was years ago. And one of the voice actors was Armin Shimmerman.
Oh, wow.
And I was standing in line to get this giant poster signed by him. And I was expecting just a quick, hey, thanks for, coming, sign. Here you go. Have a good day. This man looks at me, looks at my badge, sees Shelton, Connecticut, and he's like, oh, no kidding. I used to act at the Playhouse in Shelton, Connecticut. Or no, it wasn't Shelton. It was Stratford, Connecticut. That's what it was.
Yeah, the Shakespeare House. Maybe.
And I was like, oh, no kidding. I live like that is like right down next to my house. Like I live like a 5-minute walk from that. And honest to God, man, like he starts like chatting me up and I'm like the bumbling fool where I'm like, I can't believe he's talking to me. Yeah. I can't come up with more than a few words for sentences and comments, but he was super nice. Like the most nicest guy ever. And I was just like, I thought he was a phenomenal conversationist where I was just a bumbling fool. So I can kind of relate with Shaw in this. You meet somebody who you truly like love and admire and you're like, oh, I don't really know what to say.
Yeah. Yeah. That's such a cool story, man. Thank you for sharing that. I love that. That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I met George Takei at Dragon Con.
Oh man.
Maybe 15 years ago, and I had a similar experience.
Well, it's funny with some of them, like you're so starstruck, I would say, that you don't know what to say. And I think that's kind of what happened with Shaw. Because if you think about it, it's such a polar opposite of what we saw with him. Picard, he hates Picard for the actions of that day. But Geordi, despite being on the same ship, despite being a part of the crew that saved him, he loves.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of akin to like, Geordi running into Scotty as an example.
Right? Oh yeah.
Although Geordi was not as starstruck.
No, he wasn't.
That same level of appreciation.
Yep. And that was a pretty funny interaction. I remember back in that.
It just humanized Shaw in a way that I was not expecting.
Yeah. I agree. It was funny, like Geordi was like, we can, if this is normal circumstances, we can talk about this all day, but we need to get moving. Come on.
Right. And I appreciate that. So I'm looking forward to seeing future interactions with them. I want to know if they're going to have their moment to geek out about engineering and stuff like that. Oh man, that's the dynamic duo I did not know I wanted.
Honestly,
and they were planting seeds for that too, because 2 episodes ago they had Shaw tell everybody how he was an engineer.
Yep.
They were setting this up, and I love it.
And I can tell because he was the one that had to modify the ship to do, and because it's like none of these young engineers have ever seen anything like this. Yep. So it's pretty funny. But yeah, no, I agree, and I really do. Shaw's really like warming up on me, man. Like that guy.
Yeah. I think a big part of it is the actor has brought this human side to this character that I think we weren't really expecting. We normally get, whenever there's like a Starfleet officer that's on the opposite side of our crew, whatever crew that is, they always come off as the bad guy.
Oh yeah.
Right. And look at all the admirals over the years, or even like Jellicoe, You know, Jellicoe is a prime example of a captain who he took over the Enterprise, and while Picard was on that covert like operative mission, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Jellicoe comes across as this hard ass who doesn't give a crap about anybody but himself, but that is the furthest from the truth. He just has a different way of doing things than we're used to, and he expects everybody to do things his way as well.
Yeah.
Whether or not that's the right approach, it doesn't matter. You know, but that's how it's perceived. But at the end of the day, like, he cares.
Mhm.
You know, and I would make the argument that Jellicoe was a good captain. And I think in Shaw, we have a good captain as well. We just haven't really had an opportunity to see it yet.
Because if you think about the interactions that we've had with Shaw, it's the first interaction was Picard and Riker
Right.
meeting, trying to, you know, schmooze their way into like, hey, let us take your ship and do what we want. And like our first interaction was like Shaw being like, no, get the heck out of here.
Right. Can you imagine if Shaw came up to Picard and asked to take control of the Enterprise?
Oh, it would have been the same. Like,
It would have been the same conversation.
What are you doing? It's like, no, this is the most ridiculous thing ever.
Exactly.
And so,
And
go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say, like the only time that we've ever really seen different shades of him where like he's actually like captaining is like when like the crew had been up for like 36 hours straight on the bridge, and he told them to go get some rest and everything, and you know, things like that. Like, you get these little dribs and drabs of him being like a person that cares.
I think they kind of did it on purpose to be like, we want you to not like this guy, and we want you to see like you shouldn't judge him based upon the interaction.
Right. Well, it's like he's earning that goodwill. It just wasn't handed to him.
Very much so.
You know, so I'm on board for it, man. And like, I really hope, like, I'm always like on edge with new Star Trek about them killing off characters. I hope they don't kill off Shaw. Like, nobody in this cast needs to die. Let's just get that out of the way. We don't need to kill any of the TNG guys, and we don't need to kill Shaw. Like,
you know, okay, so this is, I know it's gonna be controversial, but honestly, man, like, I would rather have them kill off TNG crew than like the newer people. And the reason why is that the TNG crew we've had our time with them. We've heard their stories, and I am okay with them retiring from that. It's kind of like I love Data. Data was absolutely one of my favorite characters. I think the only reason why I accepted his death is because I was okay with them moving on from that character. You think about some of the more seasons 1 and season 2. I think those are good examples as to reasons why you shouldn't keep stories going. Because it's sometimes you don't, if your intentions maybe well, you know, maybe well intended, but you end up with garbage.
Right.
So that's kind of why I'm kind of at that point. Whereas with newer characters, you don't, like, you need to develop them and continue to develop them. And that's kind of why I would rather them get rid of a TNG person as opposed to one of the newer characters. But caveat, I have a big but there, is that if you get rid of them right. Don't do it.
That's the thing.
Don't do it meaningless throwaway. Worf gets stabbed in the stomach because he was fighting Raffi kind of attitude.
Yeah, that's 100%. Like, I agree. I agree with that. But I'm sure there's a way to do it where they don't have to do it. So
I don't think they'll probably do it, but that's just kind of where I stand for it.
Yeah. So what'd you think of this episode?
I actually enjoyed this a lot better than the previous one. I did enjoy the previous one. Don't get me wrong. I have to say this while there are things that I disagree with, the series itself as a whole has been phenomenal, and it keeps impressing me with each episode.
Yeah. I mean, they're doing a great job. It really does feel like the TNG movie that we never got, to me, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just being carried out over, you know, a series of 1 hour episodes rather than a 2.5 hour film, which is fine. Like, I'm fine with that. You know, it gives us some breathing room to kind of get to know the characters a little bit, and have them flesh out the story in a interesting and compelling way. But I'm along for the ride still. I'm still on board. I'm so thankful that this is going better than I expected, because I was dreading this show, and even like after the third the third episode, like I was ready for this to just nosedive, but it hasn't. It's been consistently good episode after episode, and if this is any kind of an indication of what we can expect from the future of Star Trek, like I am there. I would love to see this production team continue forward, because they have the love and the care and the respect of the franchise. And I think they're in tune with what people who loved TNG and Voyager and DS9 want,
I think that's to your point though, is this season has been very much fanfare, and if I am okay with it being fanfare as long as it's done right.
But that's the thing, like as much as it is fanfare, I think there's a fine line that you have to walk with that, and I think they've been walking it.
Oh, they have been walking it well, because I just think about seasons 1 and 2, and
right.
like there were fanfare parts that just fell flat.
Yeah.
And I think right now they're in that good spot, and I hope they keep this stay that way. And so far, if they do, this is going to be the best, one of the best Star Trek seasons I've seen in a while.
Yeah, I would agree. So anything else you want to wrap up with this, or want to call it a day?
I think we covered everything, buddy.
All right, man. Well, in 2 weeks, we'll be back again. Talk a little bit about Picard season 3.
Well, thank you for tuning in, listeners, and we'll catch you next time.
Later, everybody. Thank you for listening to this episode of yet another Star Trek podcast. We're part of the Retro Sessions Network. This episode was recorded on March 23rd, 2023, and was hosted by Drew and Brad. Majid was not here. He's a lazy bum. I'd like to thank Brad for coming up with a synopsis for this episode, and Majid for handling all of our social media and artwork. And I'd like to thank me for editing this thing. Thank you, me. You're a good editor. We'd also like to thank William Grobelar for his original music, Warp Speed and To the Stars. You can find him on SoundCloud. And we'd like to thank George Ratau for doing up some cool artwork of us as Lower Deck characters. You can check him out on Fiverr. We have links for both in our show notes. We've also got links for all of our social media, including Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, our YouTube page. We have a link for our Discord room. Come on by and talk about Star Trek, video games, movies, music. Show us pictures of your animals, your pets, not like your strays. We don't want to see pictures of like a stray cat that's like just hanging out in the parking lot at Walmart, unless it's a really cute stray cat, in which case you should take it. If you'd like to support the show, we'd love it if you gave us a 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice, be it Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, whatever you do to listen to your podcast. Leave us a 5-star review, and we'd be really grateful for that. Those reviews go a long way. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.